Good day to all of you. Today we will be working on the 74th creation in our lesson series. First, click on the plus mark at the top of the screen and open a new tab. Next, type thunkable.com in the address bar and click the enter button. Now you have entered the Thunkable website. Click the login button at the top corner and log into your Thunkable account. Now again, click on the plus mark at the top corner of the screen, open another tab and visit the dpcode.lk website. Click on lesson number 276. Click the Start Project button here. Now you have entered the project. Today we are going to create a rating portfolio app using Thunkable website. You may remember that in the first lesson, we learned how to create a portfolio app. Today we are going to add another part to the same app. I have now finished adding the portfolio app that we created in a previous lesson. If anyone hasn't watched the tutorial on creating a portfolio app, check out projects 39, 40, 41 and 42 using the thunkable.com website now. From here on, we'll add parts to the same design and improve it a bit more. Look. We have now added 4 screens to the portfolio app as Home, Certificates, Skills and My Applications. Also, these 4 screens have been inserted into a top tab navigator. First, let's add another screen to this app and design the screen as required. Here I click on the plus mark on the right side of My Applications screen and add a new screen. In the Properties section of the screen called Screen 1, click the Rename button in front of Screen 1 and rename this screen as Contact Us. Here I will type Contact Us. Next, let's change the background color of this screen. I click on the box below the background color in Properties and type the code related to the color. I want this box as #F8B195. Okay, now you need to add this screen also to the top tab navigator. Before that, in the box showing these components, click on the arrow in front of the remaining 4 screens and minimize them. Okay, now drag the Contact Us screen like this and drop it when an orange colored horizontal line is displayed below the My Applications screen. Now I need to add a label to this screen. I drag a label under the user interface in Add Components into the screen like this. Now select this label and change the properties of the label as we want. First, click the Rename button in front of Label 1 and change the name of the label to Label MSG. I will type Label MSG here. Next, the text on the label should be set as I'd love to contribute to your tech needs. Help me out with your details, would also appreciate your feedback. The code for the text color of this label is 6C567B. Also for text align, let's select Justify. Next, you need to add a row below this label. Let's drag a row under Layout in Add Components into the screen like this. One row has now been added as row 1. But see, this row is added above the label. Let's drag the row below the label like this. This row needs to be renamed as Row Data 1. Click the Rename button here and type Row Data 1. Next, you need to add 2 columns to this row. In this way, I drag a column in Add Components into Row Data 1. Again, in this way, I drag another column into Row Data 1. The column we added second has got added into the first column. Let's remove it from here and add it to the row. Okay, now select the first column and change the properties as required. First, click the Rename button here and rename it as Column IMG. In this way, select the next column and rename it as Column Text. I will drag an image under Image in Add Components into column IMG like this. Okay, now select this image. Click the Rename button in the Properties and rename it as Image Prof. And for this, in order to provide a picture, click on the box below the picture and select the woman.png image. For the image size and height, select absolute size and give a value of 30. In the same way, let's select absolute size for width and give a value of 30. Next, drag a text input under the user interface in Add Components into the column Text, which is the second column. Click the Rename button here and rename this text input as Text Input Name. The hint is given as Type Here Name. Also for width, select relative size and give the value as 100%. Okay, now we need to make the sizes of these 2 columns smaller. Again, I select column IMG and give fit contents for height and width. In the same way, let's give fit contents for height and width in column Text. Again, I select Row Data 1, which contains these 2 columns columns and change the height to fit contents. Also change the top margin of row to 30. You can see that the size of the row has changed to match the columns. I need another row like this. So let's duplicate this row. I select row data 1 and click the duplicate button on the right side of the rename button in properties. Let's click duplicate again. Now in this way, below row data 1, another row was added as row data 2. Let's change the components in this as we want. Select the first column and rename it as column con. Here I type column con. Let's rename this image in this column as image con. As the picture here, select the call icon.png image. Again, let's rename the second column as column input con. I select this column, click the rename button here and type column input con. I also rename the text input in this column as text input con. Also, let's change the hint here as type here contact. Next, you need to add another row below these two rows. In this way, I drag a row under the layout in add components into the screen, but this row was added at the top of the screen. Let's drag this row below row data 1 and row data 2. First, let's minimize these other components. Okay, now I drag this row down like this. Now click the rename button here and rename this row as row data 3. Next, you need to add a rating component to this row. I drag a rating component under the user interface in add components to row data 3 like this. Now let's change the properties of this rating component as we want. First, give the value here as 0. Let's give the count as 5. Click on the box below image and select custom image. For the filled image, let's select the happy.png image. Also for the empty image, select the sad.png image. Let's give the font size as 40 and the icon margin as 8. Again, select row data 3 and give fit contents for height. Also, let's change the top margin as 40. Now you need to add an image below row data 3. An image in add components is dragged into the screen like this. But this image has been added at the top of the screen. As before, minimize the other components and drag the image below row data 3 like this. Good. I will rename this image as image thank you. Click the rename button here and type image thank you. As the picture here, select thankyou.gif. As the size of the image, let's give 300 for height and 300 for width. Because this image needs to be hidden at the beginning, visible is set to false. Next, I need another row below this image. In this way, I drag a row under layout in add components into the screen. As before, this row was added at the top of the screen. Let's drag this row below image thank you. First, let's minimize these other components from the box showing components. First, let's minimize these other components from the box showing components. Now I drag this row down like this. Now click the rename button here and rename this row as row data 4. Next, you need to add a label to this row. I drag a label under user interface in add components into row data 4 like this. Let's rename this label as label rating. I will not change the other properties of this label. Now again, select row data 4 and change the height to fit contents. Also, for the top margin, let's give 40. Since this row needs to be hidden at the beginning, I set visible to false here. Finally, I need to add a button at the bottom of this screen. I drag a button under the user interface in add components into the screen like this. Now remove this button from here and drag it below row data 4 like this. Now I will rename the button. Click the rename button in properties and type button submit here. Here, give the text as submit feedback. Let's give the code for the background color of the button as 6C567B and I change the top margin to 50. We have almost finished designing this screen. Let's click the live test button here and see how this screen is displayed. Okay, I click the close button again. We have still not finished designing the app. Next, we need to add a data source to this app. How do we add a data source? Let's see. Here we add a Google Sheet as a data source. Therefore, first of all, it is necessary to create the Google Sheet. For that, click on the plus mark at the top corner of the screen and open a new tab. Next, type google.com in the address bar and press the enter button. Now, on the upper right side of the screen, you may see an icon like this with 9 dots. This is the Google Apps icon. Let's click on this icon. The services provided by Google are displayed like this. Today, we need to create a Google Sheet. So let's click on Sheets. Now click on the first blank sheet here and open the sheet. You can see, just like an Excel sheet, a sheet with rows and columns is open. You can design this sheet as needed for our app. First, let's rename this sheet. Currently, see, the name of this sheet is displayed on the top left side of the screen. It is called Untitled Spreadsheet. Let's click here and remove this name. Now let's name this sheet as Portfolio Rating. I'm typing Portfolio Rating here. Next, I need to create 3 columns in this sheet. Here in cell A1, let's type Names. Again, type Contact in cell B1. In cell C1, let's type Ratings. Now we have created the 3 columns as Name, Contact, Ratings. There is no need to enter data in the sheet here. Let's go back to the app we were creating on the Thunkable website. Now we need to add the Google Sheet we created to this app. For that, let's go to the Data Sources section at the bottom of the box showing components. I click the plus mark here. From here, let's click on Create New. Since we need a Google Sheet, we select Google Sheets. Now here, click the Select a Sheet button at the bottom left corner. Now in this window, the Google Sheet we created is displayed like this. I click on the sheet and give select. Now from here, let's click the Create button. Now look, the Google Sheet we added under Data Sources is displayed like this. In order to know exactly whether the Google Sheet has been added correctly, let's go to the Blocks tab. On the left side of the screen, where the components are displayed, there is a category called Data Sources. By clicking on it, we can see the code blocks like this. Good. We have now completely designed the Contact Us screen in the Portfolio app. If you made it like this, you little ones are very talented. WhatsApp your design to me on the phone number note 7681252244. Tell your friends about the design. Check out this app to send to me as well as to your friends. And one more thing, join the DP Coding School Telegram group. Try to be the DP Code Champ Best of the Week every week. Stay connected with us. Also another thing, join our DP Coding Club and you can start a DP Coding Club in your school. We are ready to give all the guidance for that. If you are interested in starting DP Coding Clubs in your school, in any school that has computer labs, please send a request to the principal to the email address info@dpcc.lk. Okay, let's meet again with another interesting lesson through DP Coding School. Have a good day.